My name is Curtis Tilley. I do Chinese martial arts. I've studied Kung Fu, Tai Chi, and Qigong. So good morning. It's morning here. And we were going to begin, um, but I'll allow you to introduce yourself as well.
Yes, I'm Elizabeth Worson. I'm calling also from Northern Colorado, and I'm going to be talking about horses and expressive arts therapy. And Curtis and I have been collaborating together, I believe, for almost 5 years.
Yeah. To start today, is I'd like to start all of our ceremonies and all of my classes, and we should probably start everything we do anyway in our day is with a little bit of centering and creating a sacred space for ourselves. And that sacredness of the space is generally an intention of us allowing ourselves to be comfortable and letting go a little bit of all the other sort of things that go on around us and look within to find a center through the breath. So as we do that, it's helpful to sit in a way where your back is nice and straight. If you can, allow your feet to touch the floor. Place your tongue on the roof of your mouth and let it relax while letting your jaw relax as well. If possible, breathe in with your nose and feel the air filling your center, and then exhale out through your mouth. In this first moment, we'll just take a couple of deep breaths to reconnect with the breath and allow the time and the space itself to be as natural as possible. When we slow down and breathe, it's in the quiet moments that we can start to feel the true nature of ourselves, whether it is a feeling of discomfort in a quiet moment, and that discomfort slowly relaxing away, or if it's a state of relaxation that we're achieving, that allows the clarity of the mind to make choices, to think about what it is that we intend to do, to set our intentions for the next moment, deliberately and consciously. We think about ourselves as a container, and I like to envision a container that is full of water. In us are many things that could be thought of as sediment. The more chaotic, the more stirred up it is, the darker the sediment becomes, the muddier the water, the harder it is to see through. So, as a sacred container, when we choose to still ourselves and breathe in this manner, in through the nose, filling up the belly, and calmly relaxing with each exhale to settle, the sediment of our container settles and the water becomes clear. And that allows our thinking process to be clear and allows our actions to follow with clarity. The more we spend time doing it, the more the sediment is allowed to settle. So in this way, sometimes we forget how long we've been sitting there. And I find it very, very helpful to breathe and count each out breath. So I'd like to try that same exercise again, but this time we will count to 8 with each exhale, and quietly to yourself, just allow your mind to softly count numbers until you've gotten to 8 breaths. And from there, you should notice a distinct change from the mind before to the mind after and feel a little bit of clarity. So we'll begin again, remembering to keep the tongue on the roof of the mouth and the breath in with the nose, filling up the belly, and letting the exhale relax and be natural as it escapes. This method of counting gives the mind an occupation. As it wants to wander and become distracted, we give it something to do, to count the breath, to notice that we are here in this moment, and we are made of both body, breath, and mind. And it is the breath that connects the mind and the body being the container, the mind being that metaphorical sediment and clarity that we're wishing to achieve. And as therapists and as healers, it is our responsibility to find a centeredness so that we can move through our client's health process together with a ground, with a centeredness, and with an intention of healing that comes from the practice of ourselves working on ourselves. Because from our personal and individual work, when we learn to quiet our mind and find centeredness and be grounded, from there we can guide people with clarity. And that's what integrative healing is. Not to just see the patient as a whole person, as mind, body, and spirit, as actions and nutrition, as exercise and intention, but to be ourselves the practitioners of the art, the practitioners of therapy for ourselves, and to have a practice that brings us simply and naturally into our being and into our present, to make ourselves the sacred container of knowledge that we share clearly with the people we wish to help. In this time of the year, we tend to use symbols of quiet and dark in the winter months. We tend to think about being internal and preparing for the coming energy rise in the spring and the summer. We know that the symbols of darkness and solstice and even the year of the snake that we are currently in is all about preparing and planning. So in that, we are preparing our way every morning for the rest of our day, and every month for the next month to come, and every client preparing the way for their next journey. By doing simple breathing exercises, we can create that space for them. Also, in the winter months, we generally think about working with water. So utilizing the vessel of water, thinking of ourselves as a water container and how water will calm and how still water runs deep. And how in the body, the kidneys use water, and taking not just the breath as an exercise, but taking actual physical activity to generate health through these water-bearing parts of our bodies, like the kidneys and the bladders, the lymphatic structures. So now I would also like to share with us a couple of very simple kidney exercises that we can do while we're sitting here and when we're in our offices or between clients, to not just work with the symbols of water and introspection, but with the stress endocrine system that sits atop the kidneys, the adrenal glands, to calm our own stress levels down as the world brings us more stimulation. If we bend our hand like this to create a roundness to the wrist, we can attach those round parts of our wrists, the radial heads, to the lower ribs in the back here, and press down to the sacrum, creating a V shape. And we might exhale as we push down and inhale, just pressing from the side of the body where the lower ribs are down to the sacrum, massaging where the QL muscles are, the obliques, and the kidneys that lie behind them. By doing this for anywhere from 15 to 50 times, you start to generate not only a little bit of heat in the kidneys, but a manual manipulative therapy that softens the tissues, stimulates blood flow, and gives again the mind an occupation, a tool that says, I am doing something to help relax the stress in my back and in my mind, and to increase the health of my kidneys, and to reduce and balance the stress hormones that are made by the endocrine glands that exist in this area. By utilizing this manipulative therapy with the hands and coordinating it with the breath, you're also getting internal work. When you exhale, the diaphragm is moving. When you inhale, it drops down to also massage the lower organs. Exhaling, compressing everything, inhaling, and bringing new oxygen to your tissues. All of this integrates the mind, the body, and the breath, the activity, and the intention to purposefully and intentfully create a healthy system and a mindful state of being, grounded and centered. The idea of intention, of planting seeds in the darkness, where we may not necessarily know where they're going or if they're going to grow, but trusting and having faith that the breath itself is the tool of healing and that the hands themselves are powerful tools that we can use for our own bodies and teach people in simple ways to use for their bodies. The idea that these seeds of healing over time will grow through the practice itself. The seed lays in the soil, the fertile soil being the client or the therapist, the practice being the water. The more we practice, the more we water those seeds. The more those seeds will grow and sprout and become something meaningful, something simple, like a small moment of breathing or a gentle kidney massage. To further the idea of kidney massage, we can also utilize our body and literally compress by leaning. And you might even think reaching down to a foot. If you have a little bit more time and space, you might alternate reaching to your feet. This is taking the massage one step further. Exhale and reach down to your foot. Exhale and reach down to your foot, sitting or standing. And again, using the body itself to massage by compressing and opening the space that is the kidneys and the organs, increasing the blood flow, circulating the lymph, and allowing the mind to have a tool with which to use to address any sort of condition we have. Stress, kidney health, water flow, occupation of the mind. All of these things can happen in a single integrative practice, which is combining the coordination of the breath with the movement of the body and the intention of the mind. We assign them different seasons. Winter is for water and kidneys and for introspection. That gives us a guide throughout the whole year. And throughout the year, we have a variety of exercises we might use. And that keeps it fresh and it keeps the whole body as the focus, one digestible chunk at a time. Instead of everything all at once, we can take it a piece at a time with intentful, purposeful timing and spend that time not just practicing it ourselves, but sharing it with our patients and clients, our friends and our family. And as far as I see my own practice, that's the most important part of all of it, is freely sharing the information so that everybody can share in the healing arts that are already built into our bodies, that are already a part of our mind. All we have to do is take the seeds of knowledge that we receive and practice, watering them and supporting them as they grow into something more meaningful and in a better quality of life with greater health for all of our communities. Elizabeth and I have been working on solstice and equinox sessions to assign these exercises with the changing of the seasons, much like many of the ancient peoples of our cultures have done. And we find that it's more powerful that way. We have recently done a winter solstice practice, and we would love to tell you about it. At this point, I'd like to change over, if you wouldn't mind, Elizabeth, and let you kind of take over and talk a little bit more about how the arts therapy and the horses and the solstice events coordinate with some of these breathing and moving exercises as well.
Mhm. Definitely. I'm going to pull up a PowerPoint because I speak better through images, so I'm just going to pull it up. All right, here we go. I'm going to share this. Okay. So, although this was a winter solstice gathering, you can also think about this as winter mindfulness because this is something you can do throughout the entire winter as we're transitioning into the spring, but also going from wood snake and then into red horse. And that will occur in the lunar year, which will be February 17th. So you can look at this, there's kind of layered, there's a lot of different moving parts to it. So I'm calling this winter mindfulness. And it was a winter solstice gathering that we did here in northern Colorado, December 22nd. This is a little earth altar that Curtis primarily created this beautiful spiral that we came back to with all our participants. But this was early on as he was setting it up with stones to mark the four directions, the space in between. And then we put down cedar branches because cedar is a many different meanings to it, but purification is one. So in preparation, in addition to the earth altar that we set up, we also created a brush to paint with. And I call it my winter solstice brush. But I took wood to represent wood snake, and then I took horse hair from my horse Rose, who is no longer with us, but she is what I would call my eternity horse. So that's a Native American reference there. That is my horse that will always be there for me in the afterlife. So I took her mane and tail hair and added it, bound it to the brush, the stick, using blue to represent indigo blue to represent winter, and then also brought in black to represent winter as well. This is Kurtis setting up the earth altar. Okay, so as our participants came in, we had some leaves prepared for them, and the leaves were prepared by soaking in glycerin. So that's a natural substance, and what you can do is write on them. So they're lovely. You can do all different kinds of collaging, writing. You can even sew them together. They feel like leather, not so coarse, but just a real soft leather. And so people took three leaves and they wrote down how they were coming in. So it could be a thought, a feeling, They also wrote down what they'd like to release, and then the third part was their intention. And we also brought in some references to wood snake and then red horse because we're honoring that transition as well. Oh, yes, I also wrote it out in advance and put it on a clipboard, and that was really helpful for a large gathering. And that way, we're not always repeating the instructions. They were written down and put on clipboards and placed on tables, and people can read the instructions and the purpose or the intention behind each leaf. So this is Curtis going into regulating the breath, much like we opened today. And Curtis, if you don't mind speaking a little bit about this.
Yeah, I'd love to. Um, it's based on the theory of the five regulatings that when we are practicing, we try to learn the art through five series of attentions. And I could say intentions as well, but it's really more about what we're putting our attention on. And the five are regulating the body, which is generally learning how to hold your posture, to learn movement, regulating the breath, which is where we find a lot of our deeper centeredness and rootedness, like we started with today. And it moves on through regulating the mind, the experience of subtle feeling or chi flow, and the enrichment of the spirit. Regulating the breath is just as it suggests, is that we're deliberately taking in a breath and putting it into a specific part of our body, deeper than the lungs, feeling it in the abdominal cavity, and integrating the use of the pelvic floor as well. The idea is that when you combine a full body breath with the intention of the mind, you regulate through that intention, and you are then achieving a goal of regulating without regulating. So at first, we kind of have to try, but then it becomes so natural that as we breathe, the process of moving the pelvic floor and filling the abdomen and allowing the spine to be soft and the body to be relaxed and the mind to be focused becomes so natural. It's as if we were regulating it without having to regulate it. So that's kind of where the phrase regulating the breath comes from that theory of regulating without regulating. Underneath the title here, you can see there's a mention of hearts. The idea is that the horse has five hearts, and the human has six, is one more, and the earth is another one. And it's a total of seven hearts. Maybe I'll let you
I'll
speak on that
explain the
as well.
five hearts, yes.
Yeah.
You're like, five hearts. No, it's kind of like two stomachs with a cow. No. So it's five hearts. So you have the main heart and then each hoof, the circulatory system, how it works, it's referred to as a heart. And that's why we always want to work our horses, walk them, move them, because you're also working their circulation and then essentially their four additional hearts. We also like, early on, Curtis and I were working with regulating the breath with the heart. So we have people put their hand on the horse's main heart and breathe through it. Sometimes we have people put two hands on the side of the horse and then breathing through four hooves, through us, back through our legs, back through their four legs, their heart, coming through our heart and our two legs. So a nice circular type of regulatory breath work there. So we really do incorporate the horses quite a bit and just breathing with them.
The breath creates a really nice rhythm. Wherever we are, whatever we're doing, the in and out of the breath is a very obvious opportunity to create that rhythm. And a heart has a very natural rhythm to it as well. It's just a little bit harder to notice sometimes. So when we're standing and regulating our breath, we can access that rhythm. And when we're working together with the horse, we can find that rhythm between the two of us. And in that moment, when you get into deep breathing regulation, you actually can start to feel your own heart and you can feel the pulse of the horse. And we can start to sync up the rhythm of all of the hearts working together. Regulating the breath is just the first step. to relaxing into the deeper sense of self and community that we're trying to create.
Mhm. Thank you. These are a few photos of our offering ceremony. So I want to mention Kyla Howard. She's with Dynamite, who's a medicine hat paint horse. So if you notice, this is an American breed horse, I believe, because a lot of Native Americans breed it because it's considered a very spiritual horse. Sometimes they have blue eyes as well, and that has a whole other meaning to itself. This one does not have blue eyes, but you see there's like a cap right there. That's the medicine hat. So when paints have like a patch over one eye, part of the face, it's not a medicine hat. So this is a real special breed. So we were really honored to have this horse in particular be present, especially during the earth altar and the beginning part. And Kyla Howard is our equine specialist, and she helps us with everything horse. So she's a lovely addition. The three of us work together often. And then the next panel there, that's my horse, Grace. I call her a Tai Chi horse because she's well trained, well versed in Qigong Tai Chi. In fact, you can ride her bareback and do different motions like sinking the chi without even using reins. So she'll sit right there, and I've been working with her just so that she walks, and you can do sinking the chi on her back, and it's really nice. So she's not startled by it. Some horses are like, "What are you doing?" So we love to do mounted Tai Chi Qigong, and she is definitely our E.Qi Tai Chi Qigong horse. And that's a friend of, well, both of ours, George, who had a Taos drum. And so he was bringing in the beat to get people to mindfully walk and be a part of the earth altar. We were walking out there with the horses and the drum. And that's George and everyone walking back. And then the last panel is our earth altar. This is a close up of the earth altar. So what we did is we had different items representing the five elements, and then people would walk the spiral, place that element, walk out, and then they would come back in, place their three leaves that they created early on. And at the very end, we gave everyone a piece of apple, and they took a seed out of it, a little slice, and they placed the apple seed in the altar as well to represent planting seeds for the spring. And then they fed the apples to the horses to thank them for being a part of it. And then there's a bucket of water in the middle, and it's a metal bucket to represent metal, one of the five Chinese elements. So we brought all that together, and then we also had a tobacco ceremony. That's more Native American. And Curtis and I are both Native American, so we brought in the tobacco ceremony to honor the four directions, Father Sky, Mother Earth. So 6 different gestures there.
I'd like to add, if I could,
Sure.
the idea that I mentioned earlier of the practitioner doing the work, the breath work, the Qigong work, the activity work first, and being able to share that with the clients and the patients is very similar to the mounted horse work. We stand on the ground and we spend some time practicing something like sinking the chi exercises or regulating the breath exercises to become familiar with our bodies. And when we mount the horse and sit on it, especially bareback, you can really feel all the way through the horse's legs into the ground, and it becomes as if the horse's legs and body are an addition to our own. And then we integrate the two bodies together, breathing as one, moving as one, getting the movements of the horse if it's walking, or just the stability and the structure of the horse as it's standing, and taking that in and working with whatever that comes up in the mind. It's like, oh, I'm on a horse now, and it's a little unbalanced. And then you
Yeah.
find your center through your ground, through their ground, and together we integrate the breath practice, which makes doing Qigong and Taiji on a horse a really interesting exercise. And it's like stepping up a little bit, literally and figuratively in the practice.
Yeah. Yes, it's amazing. A lot of people who've never been on a horse, when they get on the back of the horse and they do some of the Qigong exercises, they're just amazed. It's different, but they really enjoy it a lot. Okay, so this is just a little clip of us walking through. So, Curtis, do you want to describe the movement?
Sure. We are walking around the outside of the altar in a clockwise fashion, and at the east side of the altar, there's an entrance that spirals into the center where the elements are at. And the whole group is walking clockwise into one at a time the center to place their element and their intention, and then to return back out and back onto the circumference of the altar. Everybody's moving in a clockwise manner, which is a deliberate choice. It has a lot of implications in many cultures, Native American cultures especially. And the idea is that when we work together as one circle and allow each person to enter and exit intentfully and then cycle through, we are also moving together as one and as individuals at once.
Yeah, that was really powerful. And I wanted to highlight that we brought in a lot of water to this ceremony because water is the element for winter. So we essentially just poured water on all the different parts of the spiral that we created too. So now we're going to the Qigong. So I don't have any mounted ones, but I'm actually the one in the shadow. I'm on the horse, and then I'm just warming her up. And then Curtis is doing a little bit of what he was doing beforehand, regulating the breath, the kidney work, etc. And then after we're done with the Qigong movement that I'll have Curtis elaborate on, then we have people get on one of two horses and then they practice as well. So we kind of move back and forth from qigong on the ground to mounted qigong, and yeah.
I'll talk a little bit about these ones you have listed here. The Qigong practice that we do often, that is listed here as opening the gates, is referencing four important points: the Laogong cavity of the hand, the Yongtuan cavity of the feet, which are acupuncture points, the kidney one points on the feet, and the palm hand point, which is oftentimes called the palace of the heart or the palace of labor. Either way, we're bringing our attention to these points and imagining them opening up and sinking a root down into the floor. So we're either holding our abdomen and breathing into the belly, like we started our session off with today. And as we rise with the inhale and sink with the exhale, we're envisioning roots growing down into the earth from the feet and from the hands individually and all at once. And the idea then is to ground and to open the centers of our bodies that are peripheral and to come from the center core of ourselves, filling our entire body up with the intention of our mind, with the breath as the bridge between the mind and the body. The kidney qigong that we did, that was massage with the hands, that's more of a massage, whereas the one where you're reaching, that one's called turning the double wheel, and it comes from the 8 pieces of brocade, which is a very old Qigong exercise from about the first millennium. They've been using it for 1,000+ years now to massage the kidneys internally. And all good Qigong and Tai Chi has some idea of standing meditation, where if you stand still and just feel your breath, or in our case, sit still and just feel your breath, the work that we do to prepare for the exercise, and then at the end to integrate the healing qualities of the exercise, all come from that moment of silence, that stillness, Wu Qi. And that's where we return again or come out of our stillness from that standing meditation.
So we're all charged up, our palms, our bodies, etc. So what we do is we bring that experience to the bilateral art making. Yeah. So this is typically a response work to the Qigong movement, but bringing attention to the charge that we bring into our body. And Curtis can probably say more about that. I just call it charging the palms.
Well, the feeling of charging is both the fact that when you put your mind somewhere, if you think about it, you can feel it. Another phrase that we use in the Taiji, and I beg the forgiveness of my pronunciation of my Mandarin, and I apologize, I don't say it well, but Yi Dao, Qi Dao, which is to say that the mind or the thought that you have has a path. And where the mind goes, the feeling goes, the chi flows. So when I think about that root at the center of my hand growing with each exhale, there's a sensation in my hand. It has a combination of circulating blood, which warms up the palm and you can feel the heat, and this idea that all of a sudden I actually feel something in my hand. And that's maybe a nervous system recognizing through the mind and the awareness. We could say it's a subtle energy path. We could say it's an electromagnetic field. We can say we're charging our hands. Whatever it is, we're bringing an attention and a mindfulness to the fact that we have hands and they have an experience that we can feel. And we're bringing the intention to that feeling or to the feeling in the roots of our feet. And when we have that intention that goes to our hand, we might be able to extend that into the brush, which extends then into the canvas, and we create movement from the core, generating circles and spirals and figure eights drawn upon the canvas that you can see there. Many of the participants shared the same canvas, I think.
Yes.
Um, Sometimes we give everybody their own paper. Sometimes they all draw on the same paper. In this case, it was the whole group, which if it turns out really cool. You can see some really fascinating designs and circles and flows. It's all because we learn to move through the core, charging the hands with mindful intention and transferring that off into the artistic expression.
Hmm. Yes. Nicely stated. So we chose blue this time. Every time we do this is something different, different colors, different format. This time we chose to work on mulberry paper, one piece, large piece, so that nine people in theory could come up to represent the nine different aspects of winter, correct? Is that right? Yeah, nine different aspects of winter. And then they're bringing in expression unilaterally, representing the movement of the wood snake. And then they transition to bilateral to represent the movement and very rhythmic and a little bit more expansive movement of what we're moving into, which is the red horse. So I had a little sheet of paper that wrote down all the instructions to talk about why we're moving from wood snake to red horse and going from unilateral, which is more introspective, to something more expansive. And the indigo represents winter. So black and indigo typically are represent winter. And yeah, that's about it. And then we have some cedar there. That was our offering. Sometimes we give different offerings of like wood pieces or cedar or other things, rocks or whatever. So people can take those elements home. Cedar represents purification, and this is more Native American culture. So this is just a little exploration, if you will, if you and you can do this if you like, or do this at a later time. But this is the unilateral component of the wood snake. So it's again unilateral, one-sided movement. It's a slow, continuous inward movement for grounding and reflection, and it's typically when I have people do this a single flowing line. So that's something that you can do now or on your own, but it's just a way to explore just the wood snake energy. Yeah. Yeah. I did this in my recent supervision group, and we brought in the colors of green for wood, and then we also brought in yellow to represent earth, because earth supports the wood snake during this time. And then this is bilateral. So fire horse, red, is a color associated with fire horse, and both sides of the body are moving in a rhythmic, expansive manner. And sometimes it can become chaotic, so balance is essential here. And you can do this alternating marks or even something that's simultaneous and continuous, but you can also do overlapping too, and being really expansive, but then not also in the chaos, something that feels a little bit more balanced to you and rhythmic. Very nice. And again, you can bring in yellow, earth, to support or give balance to the chaos that sometimes comes out of the red horse. So I thought that was kind of neat in the exploration I've been doing with different colors associated with different elements and different aspects of, for instance, the Chinese year, the lunar calendar, different colors that can come in and support, kind of balance other aspects of the energy.
If I could too,
Yeah.
I'd like to just talk about the unilateral and bilateral nature of what we have been doing for these last few years. It's really, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's really what brought us together is that when I teach Tai Chi or Qigong, the movements are usually very bilateral. Both body parts, hands, legs, the hips are all working in unison. But some of the things we learn on one side, and then we'll learn unilaterally, and then we'll put them together. And the nature of using the unilateral or bilateral aspects of the body create different neurological associations. And when we use the breath to combine the mindfulness and the unilateral or bilateral movements, we generate a sense of, I think, a profundity in our self and our nature and in our presence. And what we then do is we take that one body that we have and apply it to artistic expression and say, well, now I'm drawing circles that I can actually see, or I might draw figure eights that I can actually see, or what does it feel like? How do I breathe with a single line? Or inhale as I open and exhale as I close. All of the Qigong and the art exploration works in such great unison. They just support each other. They have the same theories and ideas of movement, and they teach each other and they teach us. I've certainly learned so much about how it becomes a part of our own therapy. Knowing that Qigong and Tai Chi are good therapy, now integrating the psychological aspects of how that art therapy comes in and allows us to become more whole and healthy people.
Yes. Yeah, and that's been my ongoing question, not only for you, but other people too, is just that meaning making aspect, bringing in that expressive arts therapy, because the movement is just, healing in and of itself. And then you bring it into the expressive arts therapy, it's just a whole other dimension. And I just always wonder about that. Isn't just the movement enough? Why do we bring in the expressive arts therapy component? Yeah, so that's something I've been contemplating quite a bit, not only with you, but other collaborators as well, because it's been an ongoing question. So thank you so much. I like how you pulled that together.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I think the art therapy is really valuable because when you can see the creation of the movement, there's something else that happens. You can visualize that movement on a piece of paper. And what comes to my mind often when I see what our patients and clients are creating, I keep thinking of like a Rorschach. And you look at an ink blot and your mind comes up with an image. Well, when we create a movement and we create an image with that movement, then we can reflect a little bit on, well, how does that make me feel once I become still and that piece of art still exists now, what I have created, and how can I think about that and reflect upon that. And perhaps over time, some of our clients who learn the movements and become more familiar with the movements, that the art will change over time, and how that expression changes and becomes more balanced or more clear or more chaotic. And what does that say over time with the therapist or the client themselves?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very true. Thank you. So we're going to the thank you slide. So this is the last part of our winter solstice gathering, and that's me on Grace, and then we have Kyla, the equine specialist, and of course Curtis. So we appreciate you all listening to our PowerPoint, and I'm gonna stop the share here. And then if there, any questions or any other things that we can discuss with you, that would be great.
Going through our presentations today, we've shared a couple of ideas with you, and I haven't spent enough time really practicing it. So, one last thing I would like to say is spend more time breathing and feeling your breath. Spend more time massaging the body and moving the body, and notice how the breath coordinates with that. I am very grateful to have this opportunity to share these ideas with you. And I'm fully aware that the idea itself is a seed. This is the seed of knowledge, but no seed will become anything without practice. We have to plant the seed and water the seed, and the watering is the practice. So, moving forward throughout our entire series, we'll spend some time working with the group, but the few moments that we do together is a small percentage of the time required. We must spend as much time as we can afford breathing, being quiet, being grounded, reflecting on what it feels like and what we're doing and what our intentions are, deliberately setting that intention and spending the time and putting in the effort so that the gong fu of our practice becomes the plants that the seeds were intended to become. And we have a forest of healthy people sharing knowledge together.
That's a beautiful image.
Do you have any reflections, anything that you noticed or would like to share with us before we bring this to a conclusion?
I just want to say this is 5 years in the making. You and I have been collaborating for so long. And, it's a joy to be here today just talking about these experiences because they're so embodied. It's, sometimes challenging, or we don't often have the opportunity to talk about it. And so it's a joy to sit down here for an hour to just immerse ourselves in our process a little bit more.
Definitely. I couldn't agree more. It is not just cathartic in that we are reflecting and I think kind of processing in the moment as well. But I find it very interesting to bring things together and share them in a new way. It's always been my experience that teaching and speaking about something kind of makes it even more interesting to me. And I find new insights in the process and new directions to flow.
Hmm. I agree. Well, Amy, where are you calling in from, by the way?
Australia.
Oh, very nice. Oh my goodness, what
It's
time is it? Hmm.
it's nearly 1 a.m.
Wow.
So my I'm on holidays at the moment, so I was able to do this and because I don't need to be at work tomorrow or today. Um, and I am really grateful and thankful for both of you and what you've just shared, actually. Um, Elizabeth, like I've learned a lot from you from the other expressive arts courses that I've done, and Curtis, I've heard your name along the way from Elizabeth and your practice. So when I saw this come up, it was a moment where I really wanted to be part of that and to learn more and to understand it better for myself and then for the people that uh, that I work with every day. So thank you for sharing this.
Thank you for being here. Oh my goodness. Yeah. It, it's that we started at 6 a.m. today, so you're kind of like, wow, which is
Yeah.
fine. Yeah.
Just the other, it's now the fifth of the first now for me. So so
Right.
I'm a day ahead.
True. True. Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I guess my question is like what next? Like what is the next like process? Like what yeah, I guess that's in my 1 a.m. brain. It's the question of like what follows this and how can I be part of that, I guess.
Mhm. Well, we're doing a certification program with Ananda and her organization, and so we've outlined our whole curriculum, and we're just integrating a lot of this. So it's going to be, a lot of, Qigong practice, and then bringing in the expressive arts therapy component, and shifting it and changing it as we go along too.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think we have, I believe it's 7
Uh,
classes in our curriculum.
yes.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we'll go just deeper into all of the things we discussed today. And there's so much to talk about. Probably need 10 times more than that to cover it all. But we'll scratch the surface of it, and hopefully those of you, and I'm super grateful for your enthusiasm, will take that and not just integrate it and know it yourself, but to continue to share it so that that program is, we call it a certification program, which is to say that once you receive the information and you get the practice, you take it on and make it part of your own business and then continue to share that with more people.
Mhm. And I really appreciate collaborating with Curtis because he's helped me understand bilateral movement better. So, we talk about expressive art therapy, so many different, modalities, dance movement therapy. But because of my practice with Curtis, I truly understand just the rhythm and just all the different ways of moving, and how I can express myself differently through understanding these movements in a very slow manner. It's not something like you just jump into and like, hey, let's just put marks down, express things, and it's a catharsis. It's understanding our breath, moving from our breath, syncing our movement to the breath. There's a whole process to it. So he's going to bring all that wisdom, and I'm just going to bring some of my expressive arts therapy adventures I've had throughout the years with Curtis. We've done a number of different trainings outside the equinox and solstice events as well. We've done everything from felt making to drawing in the sand to bilateral painting. So it'll be fun to bring in all those different aspects.
It is a matter of, like I mentioned earlier, Gong Fu. You put in the time and the effort. It's simple, it's natural. We have a body, we breathe, but it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to figure out how to use it and to coordinate it, and then to reach the levels of profundity to actually express it, whether verbally, which is its own beast, difficult to do,
Mhm.
or artistically, and then to reflect upon that. So it is really a long and enjoyable path that doesn't ever seem to have an end and has endless revelations.
Mhm. Very true. Every time we work together, we end with, "Oh my goodness, we'll try this next time." So it's kind of fun. It just kind of builds off of each other in terms of the expressive arts therapy component. Hmm. Yeah, we still haven't tried the long handle brushes on the horses. That's the next step. It's like long handle brushes, horseback, painting along the paper on the fence line.
That'd be awesome, though.
I'd like to see that video. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting there with Grace. I wouldn't do that with any other horse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Because you have to practice with them as well. It's not just with the humans, it's with the horses. They have to, and they enjoy it. Oh my goodness, when we go out there, all the horses, they notice and they want to be a part of it. And sometimes they feel left out.
It's true.
They do.
Yeah.
Hmm.
On our recent one of the horses we started with, and then he got moved out and he just stood at the fence. Like,
Yes.
why did you guys move me out?
I
I want to
know.
get back in there.
Right? Dynamite. The
Yeah.
medicine hat paint. He and then three people came up to him and he enjoyed that time. And then Honey, we didn't bring her out. We brought out Willow, in addition to Grace. And Honey was by the fence line watching us like, did you forget me? Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. There's something about animals, and I've noticed this with the horses. I've noticed it with dogs, and I've even noticed it with a lot of cats. When I work with people at their home, the animals are just drawn to that centeredness that we achieve through the Qigong practice. The cats will lay on your feet.
Mhm.
You're like, I'm stepping here, but you soak that energy up. And the dogs, they all settle down and they lay down and they just relax. And the horses get very curious and they also kind of calm down with us as we calm down.
Yes. Sometimes they fall asleep too. Standing up, I had to wake them up and they're like, oh. Yeah. Hmm.
Um, Another question I have would be how will it work with like the distance, I guess, or the timeliness of like Australia versus like the time zone? Like, how do you think that that would work? Um,
Well, I know that we're teaching on Thursday at 6 a.m.
yeah,
Yeah. So that's
so
going
it'd
to
be
be
my
eight.
Friday morning. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, that could work.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
be a later start on the Friday, which is okay.
Like, well, yeah.
And it's not forever, not forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe take good notes because your brain is, at 1 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I have been. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I took so many notes today on my little sticky notes because just their little nuggets of wisdom I really
Yeah. It
appreciate.
was really lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think that one of the first things you said was like be ourselves the practitioner of the art. What we're wanting to show and teach is what we need to do for ourselves. Like that's so important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nothing has been more important to me, especially as a martial arts instructor, teaching students to do, an effective kick or an effective block. Like I need to know how to do that. So
Mm.
when I started there as a younger person and then I moved into the deeper, more internal arts, it just became so natural to recognize that I have to embody the lesson. I have to practice the lesson every day. And only then do people actually say, wow, I'm learning something from you. Because otherwise, I'm just regurgitating theory. And we can all read books and just say, hey, I read this. But Feeling it, knowing it is a much different thing.
I think it's that spirit of being the therapist as well when you step into that space and like we need to embody, we need to feel that, or otherwise it doesn't work, like for the people with us and people around us. And people sense that, like the individuals around us sense that. And you know within yourself that it's not going to work today, or if it's going to work today. So it's so important. Yeah. Because
I
again, you
truly
can read all the books. It's around being that person with you. Yeah. Yeah. The relational stuff.
I
Mhm.
truly believe that there's something that we intuit, or at least we're like antenna, and we can feel each other, whether it's an electromagnetic field or it has something to do with our thoughts and our emotions. You know, if I go to a therapist and that therapist is in chaos, I'm not going to get a lot of healing out of that. I'm not going to feel centered by that person. But if I go to my friend who is not a therapist and they're a rock, I'm going to feel grounded. I'm going to feel calm. And I'm going to think, wow, they're a better therapist than the one I'm paying, you know? And that's the sense
Exactly.
that we feel each other, just like the horses feel us, the dogs feel us. We have this observation. It's just really hard to measure. So we have to trust a little bit
Mhm.
that it's
Yeah.
there.
Mhm. Good point.